yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet what I'm calling the Winter Sunshine Scoodie. Now a Scoodie is a hooded scarf, and I added some pockets for some additional fun. Gotta jam your hands down into some pockets and hold your Scoodie on. This Scoodie will fit approximately anybody. It really will. You can adjust the length of the scarf here. If you want your hood longer, you can adjust that length. The key is to keep your tape measure close so you can measure as you work. Okay, this is a super easy pattern. We start with one of the sides of the scarf. We work our way up. We add the additional stitches for the hood portion. Then we subtract those stitches and do the other side, and also add a pocket to the other side. It's super easy and super fun. You don't have to add your hood separately. It's all done in one piece, which is super fun. And it makes a beautiful scarf hood with pockets. Now the yarn that I used is called Premier Anti-Peeling DK Colors. They have a lot of beautiful colors in this. But I asked for this one specifically because I loved the yellow pops in with the gray shades. And that's why I called it Winter Sunshine. It reminds me of a cloudy day in the winter when the clouds start to move and the sun bursts through. And of course, if you followed me for very long, you know I love bright sunshine yellow. So I have a feeling I may be keeping this scarf for myself. Now you can find this particular yarn on the Premier website. I'll put that link underneath this video so you can just click that link and look for this yarn. Also, as always, I'll put the written pattern, crochet pattern link down in the notes underneath this video as well, and it has a lot of pictures, so be prepared. If the video's confusing, you've got pictures to look at. Go and do both. It'll help you a lot. I just love this new Scoodie that I designed, and I know that you are too. Now, what you need is, of course, yarn. We're going to be using today the Premier Anti-Peeling DK Colors yarn. All right, you're going to need about 13.5 ounces. If you make the scarf length longer because you want it longer, you just have longer arms, that's totally fine, but keep that in mind because you're going to need a little bit more yarn if you want to add more rows, as I talked about in the intro. All right, these have 5 ounces a piece, so you're going to need about 2.5 of these. That gives you some extra if you want to add a pom-pom as well. This particular color is called Sunshine. You can see it is a light 3, which is just wonderful for this. The way this particular stitch works up makes a nice warm stitch, and I just love it. I'm going to say it over and over. I love it, love it, love it. All right, it's a nice shiny yarn, but it's not a splitty yarn. A lot of shiny yarns have the, for some reason, they split. This one does not. This is just beautiful. It's beautiful yarn. You can get this from Premier. As I stated at the beginning of the video, you can find that link. That's my affiliate link underneath this video. Usually I place the crochet pattern link, and then underneath the pattern link is the link for the yarn. And just click that link and then look in the yarn tab and look for Anti-Peeling DK Colors. They have a lot of really beautiful colors. I was just really drawn to this color because it reminded me of sunshine in the winter, and that's why I called it Winter Sunshine. All right, so that's the yarn. We're going to be stitching today with an H hook. Now the yarn itself calls for a smaller hook, but what we're doing with this, I really wanted to use the H hook, so it's a little bit of a looser stitch, not super tight. All right, so we're using a 5mm H hook, and so besides your yarn and your hook, you just need a needle for weaving in ends, and of course, a pair of scissors. We're going to be starting down on one edge or one end of our scarf, work our way up, do the hood portion, then work down the other side of our scarf, and then do the ends. And we'll fold the ends up for the pockets, and then I'll show you how to form that hood as well. This is a really simple pattern. I think you're really going to enjoy working on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to loosely chain 40 chains. And it's very important that you keep this beginning chain just a little bit loose, because we don't want the end of our pocket when we fold it up to attach to be all puckered in and not fit nicely. All right, so we're going to loosely chain 40 chains. I have stitched 40 chains, just a little bit loose. You can see there's a little bit of play in there, and that's what we want for the end of our scarf. Now we're going to stitch a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. Don't count the loop on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and go through the next 2 loops. Now this beginning chain 3 here will count as our first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in each of those chains, working all the way across our row. 1 double crochet in each. We began stitching our double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. We count this chain 3 as our first double crochet, and then we stitched 1 in each across, so we have 38 double crochets. We're going to chain 3 and turn our work. We're going to double crochet in the next double crochet, because the chain 3 on every row at the beginning will count as your first double crochet. What we're going to do next is stitch 1 back post double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So we're going to go from the back side and stitch around that post in the next 2 stitches. Then the next 2 stitches we're going to stitch a double crochet, just a regular old double crochet. The next 2 stitches we're going to stitch a back post, so we're going to go around the post of the stitch from the back side of our work. 1 and 2. All right, now before we go on, I want to show you. There's a little loop there so it doesn't come out. This is the back side of our work. So when we turn it to the front, those 2 back posts become front posts on the front side. All right, just so that you see what we're doing. We're forming the little cuff edge of our pocket. All right, so I stitched 2 back posts, so now I'm going to stitch a regular double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then I'll repeat this, working all the way across, alternating regular double crochets and 2 back post double crochets. 2 and 2. 2 regular, 2 back post, working all the way across our row. I repeated that, working all the way across, alternating regular double crochets and 2 back post double crochets across. We still have 38 stitches. We just did alternating of 2 and 2. All right, so we're going to chain 3 and turn our work. And that makes all those back posts that we did on the back become front posts. So what we're going to do for row 3 is we're going to double crochet in that next double crochet. And then in those back posts, we're going to stitch a front post. Then we'll stitch a regular double crochet in the 2 double crochets. One front post double crochet in the next 2 that were back posts on the other side, of course. And you can see how that makes a nice texture there, ridge, for the top of our pocket. All right, so we'll just repeat this across, stitching 1 double crochet in each of the 2 double crochets, 1 front post double crochet in each of the back post double crochets. There we go. And we'll repeat this, working all the way across our row. Every row of the scarf until we reach the portion where we're going to add the hood will have 38 stitches. All right, and see how that looks? You can see those raised areas. And that's what we're going to repeat, working all the way across. I have completed row 3. We have 2 double crochets at the beginning because, of course, our chain 3 counted as our first. And then we alternated 2 front post, 2 double crochets, 2 front post double crochets, 2 front post double crochets, all the way across. Again, we have 38 stitches. We're going to chain 3 and turn our work. And for row 4, we're going to repeat what we did on row 2. So our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we'll double crochet in the next stitch. Then we'll back post double crochet in the next 2. And so again, when we turn it over, those 2 back posts will be front posts, and we'll have that nice long set alternating all the way across. All right, so double crochet in the next 2, and then 2 back post double crochets in those 2 front posts from the previous row. And again, we're alternating 2 double crochets and 2 back post double crochets all the way across for row 4. I have completed row 4. I'm going to chain 3 and turn our work. And you can see those ridges in there where we stitched our back post, front post, back post, and it's going to make a nice top to the edge of our pocket. All right, so now we're going to go and do all of the rows in the stitch pattern for the length of our scarf. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet in the next double crochet. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Then we'll double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. And single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And we're going to alternate this, working all the way across. One double crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches, alternating 2 and 2. Our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, so we stitched 1 double crochet in the next. Then we stitched 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Then 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, alternating 2 double crochets, 2 single crochets, all the way across. We still have 38 stitches, but you're going to have 20 double crochets and 18 single crochets. And we ended on 2 double crochets. All right, so we're not going to chain 3, we're just going to chain 1. We're going to turn our work, and now we're going to single crochet in those first 2 double crochets. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch, it's just a turning chain. All right, that brings us to those 2 single crochets. So we're going to double crochet in the 2 single crochets. So now that brings us to the 2 double crochets, and we're going to single crochet in the 2 double crochets. Got to get that right. So basically what you're doing is you're double crocheting in the 2 singles, and you're single crocheting in the 2 doubles. We're still alternating, we're just doing it a little bit different. So 1 double crochet in the 2 single crochets. There we go. And 1 single crochet in the 2 double crochets, alternating all the way across. This is the back, and this is how the front will look. All right, so we'll repeat this across, stitching a single crochet in the 2 doubles and a double crochet in those 2 single crochets, alternating all the way across. Ended with 2 single crochets, so we're going to chain 3 and turn our work and see how that looks. It makes a beautiful texture, but it's not too fussy. I think it's really pretty. There isn't any holes that are great big, so it's going to be warm even though it's a lightweight yarn. All right, so what we're going to do for row 7 is just repeat what we did on row 5. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we'll double crochet in the next single crochet. Then we'll single crochet in the next 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, and then double crochet in the next 2 single crochets. And this is going to be our pattern. It's a 2-row pattern, and we're going to do this throughout the scarf. And we're going to use this same stitch technique on the hood portion and then down the other side of the scarf. All right, so I'm stitching 1 single crochet in the 2 double crochets and a double crochet in the 2 single crochets. And when you look at that, you can see it just makes a really nice texture and just really pretty scarf and hood. And you can really see how that texture in the body of the scarf is really coming out. It's just beautiful. All right, so our last stitch is a double crochet. And so we just chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to repeat what we did on row 6. So our chain 1 is just a turning chain, so we'll single crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then double crochet in those next 2 single crochets, single crochet in the next 2 double crochets, and repeat across. Like I said, it's just a 2-row repeat through the body of the scarf. That's why it's a great take-along project, because once you get going, it's super easy to memorize and super easy to do. All right, so I'm going to complete row 8, alternating 2 double crochets, 2 single crochets, all the way across my row. I have completed row 8. Because we ended on 2 single crochets, we chained 3. And so what we're going to do is we're going to continue to repeat row 5 and row 6, which is what we did on row 7 and 8. We're going to continue to repeat those for 71 more rows, and that will get you up to row 79. So you're going to continue to repeat row 5 and row 6, which is what we did on row 7 and row 8, and you're going to repeat that for 71 more rows. So here is my actual Scoodie scarf that I have been working on. Here's those first few rows where we did the front post, back post for the edge of our pocket. Then I worked up and you're going to have a total of 79 rows because we did 8 and then you're going to do 71 more. Now at this point I would probably measure to make sure, because we're going to be folding this up 8 inches And then we're also going to be adding on the hood portion, which we're going to do next, and see if that is a long enough scarf for what you're looking for. Okay? If it's not, add as many rows as you want to in order to get the length that you want. If you don't want pockets, that's okay. Don't add them. This edge still looks really pretty. All right? So this is how it looks. We're not going to fold the pocket up just yet, of course, but this is the way that it looks with those additional 71 rows. Now I'm going to show you how to add these extra rows for the hood. So once you have stitched as many rows as you want for your scarf, you're going to want to do one additional row, which will be row 8, and then we're going to add those extra chains on the end in order to form the hood. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this extra row. You'll do it just the same whether you added rows or not to your scarf. Of course, I'm using a swatch here, so I don't have my actual Scoodie scarf here in this particular spot. All right, so I'm just going to work this across, doing what we've been doing, 2 double crochets in the singles and 2 singles in the double, all the way across my row. And then I'm ready to add those extra chains in order to form the hood. Make sure when you add more rows to the length of your scarf portion that you end on row 6. And that's important because you want to end this row on 2 double crochets. So now I'm going to chain loosely 16 chains. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. All right. So now we have 16 chains. We're going to turn our work and we're going to double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to single crochet in these next 2 stitches. Now we'll double crochet in the next 2 chain stitches. Single crochet in the next 2 chains. 1 and 2. And we'll repeat this across. All right, now we have 2 left, so we're going to double crochet in these last 2 chains. Oh, get in there. And that brings us to 2 double crochets where we stopped here. So we'll just go right on with our pattern of 2 single crochets in our 2 double crochets, 2 double crochets in our single crochet. This way we can do the same pattern through the portion of our hood. All right, so we're just going to single and double across, but I wanted to show you this because this is our chain. We wanted it to be a little bit loose, but also we continued on with our pattern, so when we stitch down here and turn, we can come all the way across in the hood section. Okay, so I'm just going to finish across this row as we've been doing, stitching 2 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2 singles, and 2 singles, 1 in each of the next 2 doubles, and repeat all the way across. So we stitched across our chain and went right back across our scarf just like we've been doing. This is why it's really important if you added or subtracted rows for your length of your scarf on this side that you end on an R6 repeat. All right, then this all fits in perfectly. All right, so we ended with 2 single crochets. So we chained 3 and we're going to turn our work. So then what you're going to do is you're just going to work back across the way we've been doing and continue that across this small portion here. All right, so let me get this one going. Chain 3 is our double crochet. Then we're going to double crochet and then do our alternating 2 doubles, 2 singles all the way across as we've been doing. By now you've got it all memorized and know exactly what to do. 2 singles, 2 doubles all the way across. So I stitched across this row, and again, this is a swatch, so your scarf's going to be a whole lot longer, but it brings me to the hood portion. All right, so we just keep going across because everything should line up if you made sure that you ended on row 6 repeat. All right, so we're just continue across just like we've been doing, putting a double crochet in the single crochets and single crochets in the double crochet stitches. And all you did here is add 16 stitches because we chained 18. We began in the 4th chain from the hook, and we count that first little chain 3 as our first double crochet. And so you ended up with 16 additional stitches for the hood. I should say the hood portion. All right, so we're going to end with 2 singles. Get in there. All right, and chain 3. And see how that just blends right in nice and smoothly? Because we're adding this extra portion for the hood portion in order for it to be long enough to, to close the back to make a hood out of it. All right, so chain 3 and turn, and we'll just work right back across the way we came. See how that works? Because we ended on that 6th row, everything worked up nicely. And now we're just going to do the rows the same way, back and forth, in order to form our hood section. So I have completed 83. Even though this is a swatch, this is the hood section that we're working on. And you can see how it juts out like this. All right, and so what you're going to do is you're going to continue to repeat row 82 and row 83 for 70 more rows. All right, so let me get my other one so you can see how the hood portion looks. All right, so here's the scarf section that we were working on, and this is the hood section. And this section needs to measure from here to here at 20 inches. Okay, now I will tell you that will fit, a youth to adult. If you want to make it bigger or smaller, that's totally fine. You can do more rows or less rows to adjust that. But for the pattern, you're going to do 70 more rows, alternating rows 82 and 83, and this portion from here to here should be 20 inches long. Once you've stitched the amount of rows that you want for the back of your hood, we stitched an additional 70, which should equal out to about 20 inches. But again, this is not stretched out, and you need to remember, if you're making it for a smaller child or someone who just wants a little more room, a little more drape, you can add as many rows as needed. The most important thing about this is you need to make sure that you end on a row that's on the outside of the hood so that you have your ends of your hood on the same side of your scarf. You don't want to end on the other side because we're going to slip stitch in order to cause that hood to stop. So I've grabbed my swatch. Of course, this is not the hood section. It's too small. But when you finish all the rows that you want, whether you added or subtracted for making it fit whomever you're making this for, you want to make sure that you end on the side that is on the outside of the hood, because if you ended on this side it wouldn't work, because we're going to slip stitch in those first 14 stitches. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to stitch a slip stitch in those first 14 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And of course this looks odd because that's not the hood, but that's what you would do on the other end of the hood, like I showed you in that previous video portion. And then you'll just go right to the next stitches and begin stitching across just like we've been doing. So we'll single crochet in those 2 double crochets, then we'll double crochet in those 2 single crochets, and alternate again like we were doing previously all the way across. 1 double crochet in the 2 singles and 1 single in the 2 doubles all the way across our row. Whoops, there we go. So we slip stitched in those stitches, and then we just went right back to doing our 2 double crochet, 2 single crochets all the way across. All right, and so now we're going to go back to just having 38 stitches. All right, and so you'll just go back across just like we've been doing. So we ended on 2 singles, turn our work, chain 3 counts as our first double, then we double crochet in the next, and single crochet in the next 2, and repeat 2 doubles, 2 singles, working all the way across. So we stitched across the edge. We don't want to stitch in these slip stitches. We want to stop here. Make sure you have 38 stitches. The last 2 are single crochets, so we chain 3 and turn. And so now we're working on the other side of our scarf. We did 1 scarf portion, and then we did the hood, and now we're doing the other side. And it's done exactly like the first side that we did. We're using the same stitch pattern, 2 doubles, 2 singles, alternating across for that fun stitch pattern that we've made. So I'll just continue working across this row, just like we did on this side. On this side. I know this looks odd, but as you saw in that previous little video where I showed you the hood, this is the section after that hood. So I have completed that row. After we did our 14 slip stitches, we've done 3 more rows. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat. This is row 155 and 156, and we're going to repeat those 2 rows for 70 more rows, so it's the same size as the scarf on the other side. So repeat these last 2 rows for 70 more rows. So here is my actual Scoodie scarf. I have finished all the rows. One thing to remember, if you added length to your scarf on this side, you want to add that same amount of length to the scarf on this side. But also remember, you need to make sure that, because we're getting ready to add these rows of front post, back post, so this side looks the same as this side. And you want to make sure that it's facing the same direction. You don't want to do this so that your front and back posts are on the inside of your scarf, okay? So keep that in mind when you're working with your scarf. All right, and the best way to do that is what I do is I lay it out flat. Here's my hood back here, and I'll lay that out flat. There we go, and I'll just roll it up so the scarves are rolled up. Here's the previous other side, and we want it to be the same on this side. Okay, so I'm just going to fold that under so that I stitch this one the same. And if you're following the pattern, it should work out the same. Sometimes we lose count on our rows, and if it's off, just do one more row or take one more row out, just so that it measures the same and it has the front post, back post on the same side of your scarf. Because we're going to fold those up, and that's going to become the top of the pocket for the scarf. All right? And we want that to show out and look pretty. We don't want that back side. All right? All right, so we're going to do the other side, and I'm going to do it on the actual Scoodie scarf. I left it off so that I could do it right on the same scarf. All right, so I've got it all lined up, so when I fold it up, it's going to work just fine as my pocket. All right, and so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next double crochet, or the next stitch. Now we're going to back post around those 2 double crochets. Just like we did at the beginning of the other side. All right, then we'll double crochet in those 2 stitches. And then back post around those next 2 double crochets. All right, and so we're just going to repeat this across just like we did on the other side of our scarf. All right, so we 2 double crochet, 2 back post all the way across, chain 3 and turn. So now we're on the front of our work, and we'll do the same thing, 1 double crochet in the first 2, front post double crochets around the front post double crochets, and repeat all the way across. So we stitched all the way across, stitching 2 double crochet, front post, 2 double crochet, 2 double crochet, front post, all the way across, and we're going to do one more row like we did on this one so that the 2 ends look the same. All right, so I've chained 3. I'm going to turn my work back to the back. We're going to double crochet in that next double crochet like we were doing, and then 2 back post double crochets in those front posts from the previous row. So basically we just repeated what we did on the other end, but instead of doing it first, we're doing it last because we stitched the rows of our scarf last. All right, on the other side we began with our front post and back post rows and then stitched the length of our scarf. On this side, we stitched the length of our scarf first, and now we're stitching those front post, back post rows, so we have a nice edge on the top of our pocket. And even if you don't want pockets, it's a nice edge on the bottom of your scarf. Oops, I tried to do a front post. It's a back post. Alrighty, I can't talk and crochet at the same time. So I'm going to head on finish this row, and we're alternating. Take those out. There we go. We're alternating our double crochets and our back posts, so we have those long ridges on the front, just like we did on the other side of our scarf. So we completed a back post with double crochets, a front post with double crochets, and back post with double crochet row. Now we just need to do one row of solid double crochet, and that's just going to give it a nice edge for the top. Okay, and so we chain 3, and we're going to double crochet in each of the double crochets across, whether it's a front post, back post, or double crochet. Just one double crochet in each of the stitches, working all the way across our row. And then we'll be ready to tie off and attach our pocket. And I want to attach the pockets first before we do the back of the hood, because I want to make sure our pockets are both going the same direction, so we can slide our hands down in our pockets, and then we'll come back in and stitch up the back of our hood. It just helps us with laying it properly, because we don't want our hood going the wrong direction from our pockets, and we don't want our pockets going the wrong directions from each other. All right, so I'm just going to continue across, stitching one double crochet in each of our stitches. So now we're going to cut our yarn. We're going to weave in our end. There we go. And then we're going to attach our pockets. Now, if you did this with this particular yarn, all we have to weave in is the beginning and the end, and then where we joined in our yarn through the center. So there's very little weaving in, which is really nice. And I like to do this at this point just because it gets it ready for me to stitch on my pockets and close up the hood. Alrighty, so let me clip this. And let's get this pocket here that we just finished sewn in place. Okay, so what you're going to need to do is take your tape measure and measure 8 inches. Mine's a little high, so I'm going to bring it down a little. And I think that's a nice size pocket, an 8-inch pocket. I think it's real nice. So once you've measured up your 8 inches, you're going to line up the side, and we're going to join the yarn down here. All right, leave yourself enough of a tail to weave that in, and we're going to stitch these two sides together using single crochet stitches. We're just going to work up the side here, going through both sides. Whoops, let me move over a little bit here. There we go. You might want to match your yarn. I didn't care to because I've got yellow up here, so I'm just going to go on with my bright yellow because I love bright yellow. And we're just working our way up the side, stitching the front and the back of the pocket together. And it's up to you how close you want to make your stitches. Oops, there we go. Alrighty, almost up there. This yarn is really wonderful to work with. I hope you get a chance to get some because it is just a lovely yarn. There is an airplane flying overhead if you hear some noise. Sorry about that. The airport isn't that far from us, and neither is the air base. Alrighty, so we're at the corner of our yarn, And I like to add just a little extra stitch in there to hold that. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to single crochet across this top edge of our pocket. This way we get a nice edge that will help it hold its place. I do suggest you tighten up your tension just a little bit on this particular edge because it's the edge of the pocket and we want it to not stretch out on us. Okay, so I'm tightening up my tension just a little bit as I work across. So I single crocheted in each of those double crochets across, and so now I want to make sure everything's lined up on this side, everything's even, and I'm just going to work my way down this side. Now I like to make a little chain one there to hold that, and then I'm going to make 2 stitches right in this corner just for a little extra stability, and then I'll just work down the side of this one the same way I worked up the other side. Because I don't know about you, but I always jam my hands down in my pockets. I love pockets. As my granddaughter says, pockets are life. It's where you got to store your lipstick and your nail polish and all your other fun stuff. Not just your hands. All right, I'm just going to work down the side here, and then I'll go do the other pocket, and then I'll show you how to do the back of the hood, and we'll be done. So the pockets are all done and tidied up. We stitched up the sides, single crochet, stitching the back and the front together. Then we single crocheted across the top and then single crocheted down the side and tied off. So now I've got 2 pockets. The last thing we need to do is the hood. We've completed our pockets. They look really nice. Both of them are done. And now we're going to do the hood. So make sure your pockets are on the inside. We're going to do it from the wrong side out and then flip the hood over. So we want to have a little bit longer piece of yarn here, and we're going to put the 2 corners together. And we're going to put our hook right through that corner. And leave yourself a little bit of yarn there because I want to make sure we have enough to weave that in real good, because that's a little pressure point that's going to get pulled. We want to make sure that's very secure. All right, so now we're just going to do what we did on the sides of the pocket and single crochet up the back of the pocket, stitching them evenly all the way up to the point of our hood. I stitched all the way up the side to the point. Cut our yarn, and we're going to weave this in. And again, it's real important that you weave these ends real secure, especially this one down here, because that's at a point where it's going to get pulled a lot. We want to make sure that's going to stay nice and secure. I'm going to put a little extra stitches in there, just so that I know, because I have a feeling I'm going to be keeping this one with all this yellow. It's so pretty. Or I might give it to my sister. I really want to keep it for myself. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to stitch up this one up at the top of the hood, and my Scoodie is ready to be worn. All right, let's flip it right side out. It looks nice. You can add a pom-pom if you want to, or not. I didn't. You can even go along the edges and trim it if you want to. I didn't. I didn't think it was necessary. I just absolutely love this Scoodie, and I can't wait to put it on.